Hey everyone, Brandon here with GallowayPrecision. Today we are going to go over the installation of our newest product for the Kel-Tec Sub-2000, and that is our Asger 3D printed flat face trigger. Alright, this is carbon fiber filled nylon. These will also have fiberglass fill, and we will be coming out with a curved version. Right now we're going to go over the installation of the flat face. It is adjustable for pre and post travel of the trigger. Alright. So let's go over tools you're going to need. You need your 050 Allen wrench. You need some blue Loctite or some VC3. If you're using VC3, go ahead and remove your screws from the trigger. Apply the VC3, pause the video for about 15-20 minutes, then come on back. That's how long it takes for that to cure, for it to adhere properly. Need a right angle pick. Need a small flathead screwdriver, preferably one that you've seen me in previous videos. We've already cut with a Dremel wheel, little hole right there for moving springs and C-clips and such. 1/16 punch, number 1 Phillips head screwdriver, preferably one of these with the twisty on the back, makes life a whole lot easier. And some channel locks that you have padded. If you don't want to use channel locks, M-Carbo does sell on their website a armorer's tool that will remove this back here, the castle nut that they have for this thing. Alright, so first things first, we've already field stripped the weapon, got the bolt and everything out of it, because your instruction manual is going to go over that, so we can jump right into putting the trigger in. Okay, so let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to unfold first. We're going to take our channel locks. Now this is a Gen 1. This trigger will work in the Gen 1 and Gen 2. But ours was only hand tight. Alright, yours may be a little tighter. Just get a hold of it. Turn counterclockwise. Now this is just threaded to the plastic. Alright, so when you go to reassemble, there is black Loctite that you can buy. That you can apply to this. Is specifically for plastic to metal. You can use regular Loctite, but in all honesty, you don't really need it. As long as you tighten it back down as tight as it was when you pulled it off, you'll be golden. Alright, so we've got our castle nut loose. Let's go ahead and retract the barrel. And now we're going to take all the screws out of the right side of the receiver. Everything we're going to be doing is going to be from the right side, because this is the side that the trigger bar and everything sits on. So if you try and do it the opposite direction, it's hard to get everything preset the way you want it. So we're going to remove all but the center screw, and then we're going to take our C-clips off our safety. Then we'll remove the center screw, and then we'll take her apart. If you've got your flathead with the little magnet on the back, grab a hold of that washer with it. It's the easiest way, or you can just turn it over, dump it in your hand, either way. Alright, so now down to our last screw. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the C-clip from this side of the safety first. Alright, so you're going to take your flathead, your 1/16, and get it going, get it started to where it starts to come off. Now C-clips are always under a lot of tension, so once you just get a little bit, take your flathead, pull it straight off that way, because if you still push, it'll launch. Which, if you do manage to lose it, Kel-Tec sells all the parts on their website separately for the Sub-2000. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. Now don't push too far. You're going to push it just like you want it back on safe, but don't overpress like I just did, or the safety detent will come flying out. Alright, so if that happens, make sure that you're standing over it like I was. It'll hit you. Now let's talk about the safety detent. I broke our old plastic one the first time. If you've got a Gen 1, you may have a plastic detent like that. I highly suggest, if you're taking this part and you've got the plastic one, go to Kel-Tec's website, tell them you need it for the Gen 1, and they will send you a new brass one and spring for about $4 or $5 with shipped. Alright, so definitely I would get this if you don't already have it. Alright, so now that we've got that out, we can go ahead and take our C-clip off this side of the safety. Again, we're just pushing it enough to where it doesn't come flying off, unless it does like the safety detent did and make me look stupid. In which case, I totally meant to do it. Now this side can be a little bit of a hassle, just because of the shroud. The shroud is on both sides, but usually the way this safety will turn freely, and so with the detent hole, it can be a little tricky. Alright, so now that we've done that, you're going to pull your trigger back a little bit, push the safety on back the other direction. Alright, so make sure you want it loose, because what we're going to end up doing is pulling it out when we pull this whole side off. Alright. So now we're going to take out our last screw. Oh, and one tool I forgot to mention, you will need at least a 5/16 punch. And that's going to come in when we go to put everything back together. And go ahead and let the hammer drop before you pull off the side. And we're going to take our flathead. We're going to start prying all the way around, so that once we get it loose, we can just pull straight up. Alright, so once you get one side undone, get the other side undone, go ahead and very gently remove that. The safety can get pushed by the hammer, so you can pull the hammer back, remove it. Sometimes your sear rod will stick in the opposite side. Go ahead and pull that out. Pull out your mag release, set it off to the side. And alright, so we got that done. We're going to go ahead and remove our trigger and trigger bar. Alright, now the way the spring is captured, it's okay that it flings out like that. You kind of want it to. So we're going to remove that, set that off to the side. Since our pin came out on our opposite side, I'm going to go ahead and put the sear back on this side of the weapon. Alright, and that's how the sear sits. Okay, you want, because when it cocks, this flat part of the hammer here is going to connect with the flat part of the sear. Alright, so push everything back center and take your sear spring, wind it like so, put the leg under there. That's it. Alright, so now go ahead and take our blue Loctite. I'm going to take our pre and post travel screws out of the Asger. Asger, in case you were wondering, is Old Norse for God's Spear, which I think is very fitting for a Sub-2000. Makes a perfect trunk gun. Also a great home defense weapon. I mean, let's be honest, all rifle or carbine is the extension of what the spear has been for thousands of years. Alright, so we're going to take a little blue Loctite, apply a little bit to our screws. It's not going to take much. Now with the post travel, I usually like to start it with about 4 threads showing out the back, sometimes 5. I'll wipe the excess off the front. I'll put our pre-travel screw in. A little bit on it. Now this one I usually barely have a thread sticking out, because honestly these things don't have a whole lot of pre-travel, but there is enough that we can adjust some of that slop out. Alright, so we're going to take our trigger bar and trigger assembly. Now this pin comes completely out. You don't need to remove the whole pin. Just hold the spring and the bar and work your trigger off if you can. Sometimes you gotta press it down on your block just to get the leverage to get it off. Alright, now, oh, drop my spring. Now, if you do what I just did and drop the spring, make sure when you put it back on, the long arm hits that part of the trigger bar, all right, the short arm is going to go behind the trigger pivot pin. So the pin goes in the top part. All right, now we're going to go to install. I want you to take your trigger bar, have the trigger spring sitting behind the bar right there, with the front part of the spring like this. Because what we're going to do is we're going to place it on the pivot, and as soon as we get it a little bit past, we're going to wind this bad boy back into position. All right. Go ahead and wind that back. Now we're going to seat the trigger completely down. All right, so everything's seated. You notice the cutout in the trigger bar is sitting on this here where it should. Our arm's up in here where it should be, sitting underneath this pin like a roller. Everything's good. All right, so take your mag release. I'm going to stand it up in there. Now we're going to reapply the right side of the receiver. All right, so what I like to do is I'll take my middle finger, because it's the longest, and I'll hold the mag release in place, and we'll start. Now, keep in mind, do not cock the hammer. Don't cock the hammer or the sear. It needs to be in limp state in order to put it back together. If you cock this back, put pressure on it, it torques these pins and they won't line up with the holes on the right side of the receiver. Alright, so let's get that started. The tricky part about the mag release is the spring for it is built in here. That's why you want to keep your finger in there as long as you can while you're pressing everything together. And the first thing you want to check is make sure that your mag release is moving. Alright, so we got that down. So we can go ahead and take our castle nut here, at least get it hand tight for now. That'll help hold everything together while we put the screws in, and then we'll go over reinstalling the safety. We'll cock the hammer, we'll reassemble with the bolt, and we'll tune the trigger. Alright, so make sure you put your washer back on this side. Some other products we will be coming out with, we'll come out with a stainless steel pin set to replace the aluminum pins that are inside here, and some stainless steel screws, which are going to hold up a whole lot better riding around in the trunk than the standard steel and aluminum pins that come in it. Now, one thing I glossed over, when you're going to put this together, if you see your sear spring, if you're trying to push and push and push and it ain't going, you're like, what is going on? Check back here. Since the sear spring rests underneath the pin that these screws attach to, sometimes it has a tendency to stick out into the actual frame of the receiver, and so when you're trying to press it back together, it won't go. It'll also mess up that spring, so that's something to make sure when you get to this point that is in there. If you're tightening it down, you're like, why do I have this gap? That'll be the culprit, and that's when you're going to pry it back open just a little bit, take your one straight pick, pop it back in, you'll be good to go. And you only need to do these hand tight, alright? Don't over torque these, because steel going into aluminum really doesn't break. It does stretch and it does warp. So if you keep cranking and you over tighten these, you can cause them to lock up inside the aluminum pins. Alright, so now we'll take our stock trigger, we'll put that in our little baggie with our that our new part came in. So now comes the trickiest part of the whole thing. We're going to put the safety back in. So first we're going to take our 5/8, 5/16, which one is this? 5/16, 5/8 will work too. Pretty much any big punch you have. And push it inside and get it on the front of the hammer. And just push the hammer back till you hear it click. Alright, so now it's on the sear. We're going to take our safety. Now this is the trickiest part of the whole thing. When you're coming, you want to come in from the right side. So you may have to stand it up, and you're not going to be able to really see this, but you see the trigger bar sticking up right there? And come from the opposite side with your 1/16. You're going to push that down out of the way. All right. See how I've got this to where I can hold it down somewhat out of the way and get the safety in there. Okay. Now pull your 1/16 out. What you're going to do, you may have to maneuver the trigger just a little bit. Don't pull it all the way, just enough to where the safety will slide through with the trigger bar out of the way. So now that we've got it all the way through, I'm going to spin it till we get to the detent hole for the safety. All right, so there's our detent hole. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our safety detent spring and detent and push them in there. All right. This is where it gets a little bit tricksy. All right, so now we're going to reach up with our left index finger. We're going to just pull the trigger slightly. That's going to give the trigger bar room to move enough to where we can, oh, and I did it. This is why this is the trickiest part of the whole thing. Because if you push too far, that detent's going to pop out. Just tried to pick up brass with a magnet. Stellar day. Alright, so let's try this again. You're going to push the detent in, pull the trigger slightly, and we're just going to do this like 8 times. Because it wants to make me look dumb. The other thing that may happen when you do this is the spring might want to try and pop out. So push it forward just a little bit. Make sure the spring is back seated all the way in there so you don't mess up your spring. Alright. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, why didn't you put the C-clip on the other side first, dummy? You can't. If you put the C-clip on the other side, you can't get the safety flush enough to actually get the detent back in. So this is the trickiest part of the whole thing because you want it back in, but just enough where the detent catches right there. All right. So now we're going to start with the C-clip on this side first. And this is where your cut screwdriver is going to come in handy because we're going to get the C-clip started. We're going to put our little cut on there. We're just going to press it home. Now, you can push safety all the way through. The detent can't come out. Alright, so now we're going to put our other C-clip on. Press that on. Alright. Safety's on. Go ahead and give it a test. Pull the trigger, hammer should fall. Go ahead and cock the hammer back again with your big punch. And then we're going to reassemble and we're going to tune the trigger. Alright. Go ahead and walk it. Sorry about that, video was blowing up my phone. Alright, so we're now ready to reassemble and tune the trigger. Alright, so take your bolt. Put it on your bolt carrier. Go ahead and insert that bad boy. And what I like to do is once I get it to, because this thing likes to spin a little bit when you're trying to put everything together, is once I get it up touching the hammer, I will close that back. I'll take my 5/16, I'll push the hammer down a little bit, and I'll push forward with my finger inside the detent, and then I'll just back it off just enough so that the hammer stays under pressure, but we can put our charging handle in and go ahead and go all the way forward with it. Alright, so then open them back up completely. Take your guide rod, your recoil spring, whatever you want to call it. Get it down in there if it will cooperate. There we go. Alright, and then you're going to take your stopper, your back piece to your butt plate here, and that holds everything in. Push your pin through. Now, alright, so safety's on. Hammer doesn't fall. Safety off. Hammer falls. Hold the trigger to the rear. Rack the slide. Reset. Hammer falls. Alright, so now we're ready to go ahead and tune the trigger. So we're going to start with our pre-travel. You're going to turn about 1 or 2 full turns counterclockwise, rack it, check reset. Alright. Alright, so we're still good. You want to do this until it no longer resets. Which this is a tiny screw. So it don't take a lot for it to not reset. And then we can tune it. Alright. Alright, so we don't get reset right there. So go ahead. It reset, but it's not giving you full reset. So don't take that as, oh, we're good. It may make the hammer fall. You may start shooting. Once you get heat transfer through the whole chassis, that's going to change. Alright, so once you get it to where you don't have an actual reset click, hammer may still fall. You got to remember these are a little loose toleranced on the inside. You want a distinctive click. So once you get no distinctive click, go ahead and turn clockwise 1 full turn. Alright, rack it. Your pre-travel is set. Now we're going to go to our post-travel. So what we want to do, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this out a whole bunch because you want it out to where the hammer will not fall. Alright. And again, this is going to vary from rifle to rifle just because, you know, tolerances are going to be different. Alright, so our hammer's not falling. Let's go ahead and start 1/4 turn counterclockwise at a time. We're going to do that till the hammer falls. All right, we're going to give it 1 more 1/4 turn, and that's it. Your post travel is set. All right, so you should be getting nice solid reset, nice solid fall. Okay, and that's it, guys. This thing's ready for the range now. So you got it all set up. Like I said, we'll be selling this in a curved design as well. As you can see, it removes a lot of the pre and post travel. I mean, very small amount of swing there. And really, you can fine tune the post travel quite a bit, but it's usually, the way I show you is usually the best, because being the tolerances that these things have, you may get, when you slow pull, that delay there. So if you're slow pulling, you get a little delay, give it 1 more little turn, and you're golden. This makes a big difference in this rifle. One, makes it a lot quicker follow-up shots. And final thing, well, we've gotten that tightened back up. Getting ahead of myself. Take your channel locks, give it 1 good turn like that, to where you can't just move it by hand, and you're done. So, big difference. This will also fit the Gen 2. So Gen 1, Gen 2, Sub-2000s, they're internally the same. This trigger will fit both. Much shorter. Do expect some more products for the Sub-2000 for the Gen 1 and Gen 2. Like I said, we're going to do the stainless steel pin inserts, stainless steel screws. We'll probably do a full pin insert set for both the frame and the upper fore end, whatever you want to call it. Probably have a charging handle and some other things, along with some mag releases and stuff. So a lot of fun stuff in the pipeline for a fun little gun. Also a very serious self-defense and trunk gun. And that's going to wrap this up, guys. If you guys got any questions, feel free to email me at that's Tango Echo Charlie Hotel at GallowayPrecision.com. Be sure to follow us on social media here on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe below. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Vimeo. Go by the Facebook page or the website and sign up for the monthly newsletter. We'll probably be changing it to a weekly sale since it did so well this Christmas. That seems something that we may just go ahead and do a weekly flash sale from now on. So if you want to know what that's going to be, definitely sign up for the newsletter at the website or the Facebook page. And as always, be safe, be accurate, and God bless.